The Collector's Bounty event is about to end and people are gonna be mad. Hey, it's Soul and this is Warcraft Weekly. We are a pro mount farming channel and we're about done. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me where I'm live. After this first go at the Collector's Bounty event, what do we think and what's next? I think this event worked out really well. You think about it, and the team, they didn't really have to do a lot to get this thing going. They just needed to raise the drop rates for some mounts and double the loot tables and legacy mode, and then, watch us all dance to their tune. I'm fully expecting a ridiculous infographic of how many of what were slaughtered and compare statistics showing the number of football field lengths you'd get, lining up all the invincibles that dropped. By the way, that's a trick question because you wouldn't be able to see them. What made this event very special is that it's the first. If this event were to come back, and I do hope it comes back in some form, it's not going to feel the same because a lot of players managed to put some serious dents into their mount and transmog farming. The tension has been building up over 20 years, and the event did a lot to satisfy the hunger. I've been listening around, and unsurprisingly, I've been hearing feedback over how it should come back on like a regular basis, maybe in a limited form, like, hey, with each time walking week, let the featured expansion also have increased drop rates for that week. And maybe that's the right play, but I want to present my own version of what Blizzard can do and how I came about it. The rule's pretty simple. Just bring back the Collector's Bounty every expansion, or maybe every other expansion, for a month, just like it is now, and that's about it. By using expansions as units of time, it guarantees the event feels like something new is being added, because doing this every expansion or so means older expansions are added to the whole legacy loot scheme. Now this will sound weird, but the longer gap gives players a sense of freedom to seek out collections without having to rely on this event. And it's still appealing for those who don't normally farm for cosmetics at all. I'd say that's the demographic most affected over the past month. If these events are too frequent, it might set off a trigger in the minds of some, like, oh, maybe I'll farm like this or that expansion only when the event is active. A higher frequency of the events means maybe it'll be on our minds that much more to where we regularly plan around it. And that would be, it'd be, in a way, Blizzard steering players into whatever schedule they set up, which some would call a system. Last I checked, players don't like being corralled into a system designed to keep them subscribed, especially one that's still heavily RNG. Something that would be really cool though, would be to have a Collector's Bounty kind of event for other stuff like rares out in the open world. I wouldn't be surprised if the thought crossed Blizzard's mind, but something like that is also more complex to implement. It's not as easy as just upping drop rates because we have to consider the open world, it's not all that solo, and we'd see who knows what being relentlessly camped. So they would need to really get in there and create a system to activate this as an outdoor event. So rares would need to scale with character level and have anti-zerg protection, like an immunity shield that's up for a few minutes so people can actually travel to those locations, and health scaling when lots of people are attacking them. Then there are other considerations to make, like if the drop should be always personal loot, or can we sell the drop within the group to the highest bidder, that sort of thing. And we haven't even started talking about how quest phasing will put gamers in all these different states of the game, which can make grouping with friends feel cumbersome. Now, those are all questions that just need to be answered and the work just needs to be done. I think this would be a very cool thing to eventually have. These were only a few ideas I've heard about or were shared during the live streams. Each and every one of us has a unique position in our farming progression, if we even care about it at all. So I'm interested in hearing your takes on how the Collector's Bounty event could be treated in the future. Okay, so I've been meaning to talk about player housing again, which seems kind of pointless because in less than a month we're going to learn about Midnight, and the Gamescom folk, they're going to get their hands on the latest version of player housing, which is my version of FOMO. But I can't help but want to speculate and get really into the copium. Just how is the collection of decor going to work? Some of the chatter about Collector's Bounty involved housing, that even if we're finally done farming up that Dragon Soul mount, and we gotta go back so we can get a bed frame shaped like Deathwing's jaw with the increased drop rate, I guess. So I'm gonna remind you all of how decor collections are gonna work, but I have no new information, just some very confident speculation, but we'll see how wrong I am later. Now let's lay it all out, because after the last player housing post, eyes turned towards endeavors and the leveling track as ways to earn decor. And those sort of sucked up all the oxygen in the room, something battle pass, time gating, renown grind, whatever. But it's not the only way to earn decor. So let's go through it based on what the devs have told us so far. One source is quest rewards. You finish a quest or a quest line and you get it. But there's a bit to unpack there. Blizzard's playing catch up with housing and doesn't want it to feel like a only max level activity that new players are going to take a long time to enjoy. They don't want it to feel limited to the latest expansion going forward, as if there's nothing desirable from Wrath of the Lich King or Legion or the War Within. So we expect to see decor to be added to not just future content, but 20 years worth of past content, at least to some degree. A few ideas have been floated about decor earned via quest, but in the case where we want to buy more of them, I think the safest solution would be the ability to buy more of this unlocked decor from a vendor, organized into different NPCs by zone or expansion, whatever works, and maybe these people will hang out in our neighborhoods, which we now know about. Achievements follow pretty closely with quests. We're going to keep getting achievements, and there's a lot of them from the past too. Between this and quests, we can hopefully count on quite a bit of decor to unlock for veteran players very early with housing, but not so much that day one of housing is going to be like this much legacy stuff and then only this much stuff for like the entire duration of Midnight. So to summarize, like this first chunk, quests and achievements are probably going to have a good bit of front load because, legacy content, but going forward, we're going to see decor trickle in from these pipelines basically as we get new patches. Decor is going to come from a variety of vendors, and vendors are managed in a lot of different ways. We see vendors who are specific to a region or an activity. Think of Undermine or Nightfall or Siren Isle as more recent examples of how vendors use a combination of like gold, reputation, currencies, lockouts, and more. Now, a quick rule of thumb, the reason why we have so many currencies, especially lately, is because we have so many different activities in the game, especially lately. And currencies are the reason why I don't just do horrific visions all day and then use the corrupted mementos and upgrade all my gear and buy everything from Undermine. No doubt as we travel to new zones and discover new activities, there's going to be some fangled routine we do to get a bunch of rewards, including decor. Now, that's going forward in the world of Warcraft, but will they go back? Now, somehow I don't see them adding decor to the vendors on the Molten Front, or the Covenant Renown tracks, or that one dude on the Vindicar. There are more tasteful ways to get folks back into legacy content, and the old grind specifically, that ain't it. But I think they've also figured it out, and I'll get back to this. The leveling track is something we just learned about, and it feels like a good way for beginners to get into earning decor, even if they're not max level or if they don't have a goal in mind. We only learned a few things off this screenshot, and we're told experience will be gained by completing endeavors. More on that later. A leveling track is a great way for gamers to get started. You do housing stuff, you get more budget to build with, and presumably free decor to use. My expectation is that if we want to buy more of something, we'll be able to buy it off like a local vendor, similar to the ones that'll sell decor earned from quests and achievements. We talked about that just earlier. So in those examples, they're not just rewards, they're vendor unlocks in case we want to buy more. Professions are going to play a significant role in obtaining decor, but how significant and how complex will it be? I'm not so certain, which may or may not be good. We can be confident, though, in saying that we'll be able to craft decor from every era or WoW expansion, which means the frequency of profession decor, it might be similar to quests and achievements, where there's going to be lots of front loading with respect to legacy content, but it trickles down to a handful of recipes per patch for new and maybe some old recipes. I think it'll play a big part in one of the more mundane types of decor, like floor planks and pillars and blocks that we want to make a lot of, but I also think some of the very coolest and rarest things might be had from crafting too. The complexity I mentioned involves how the economy might play a role. Some gamers have been gathering up pretty much anything that isn't bind on pickup in the hopes that it'll be used for housing. But I have little doubt many recipes will require a mix from the old economy, as in, the stuff we've been amassing for years, and a new economy, new items with reagents specific to housing starting in Midnight. Whatever the case, I think profession recipes for some of this decor will be what best qualifies as a rare drop for housing. So a very rare recipe would make you the one to go to, and there'd be knobs Blizzard has access to kind of control the supply, from applying a cooldown to the craft or having to use these new economy reagents that have a limited supply or they're bind on pickup, so only crafting orders might apply in some cases. Speaking briefly on drops, I have doubts we'll be returning to Icecrown Citadel to get Invincible's hitching post, although good luck finding it. The WoW team seemed pretty averse to the idea of grinding for a rare piece of decor, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these new economy reagents I'm talking about will include materials to be used for housing. So while we won't see a hitching post drop, we'll maybe find Serenite fragments from trash or bosses, either in Icecrown Citadel or all throughout Wrath of the Lich King, and these can be put together to make a variety of Lich King related decor. So the grind might exist, but at least it's deterministic, and maybe we can skip some steps if we just buy these reagents off the auction house if they're not bind on pickup. Endeavors aim to be a feature that tries to nail a bunch of cool things at once. Now, I'm not very keen on that sort of approach, but in this case, it might actually work out here. Now, I'm going to add my own flavor to this summary. There's a link to the actual blog post in the video description somewhere, but endeavors are going to act out kind of similarly to the Traveler's Log, where one fulfills tasks over the course of a month. In this case, though, it involves everyone in your neighborhood, so it's going to be kind of a group thing, all pitching in to complete milestones. Doing so will alter the look of the neighborhood, give experience and currency, and eventually unlock vendor access to the monthly rewards that anyone visiting the neighborhood can buy. Each month, the Endeavor theme changes, and in the case of private neighborhoods, their managers can choose among a selection. The appeal of Endeavors comes from the possible variety of decor Blizzard can provide, because they can make up whatever the hell theme they want and provide content around that. They used Val'sharah in their example, but Endeavors can potentially cover like a race or an expansion, can cover a certain patch or a character. Their post said players in the neighborhood can complete a wide variety of activities to fulfill Endeavors, but like the trading post, it would be really easy to set up themes and requirements that direct players to specific activities. Now let's rewind a bit and talk about that hitching post again from Icecrown Citadel. So what would be the ideal solution? The hitching post could be a rare drop, but Blizzard, again, doesn't seem all that interested in that. It could be a rare drop recipe, meaning if only one person on the server gets it, word can go around, and then that decor can start making the rounds, and players might be directed to run Icecrown Citadel for maybe just materials, or they can buy those materials from the auction house. It could also be something we can directly buy from the neighborhood by completing an endeavor related to the Lich King, or Icecrown, or Winter, whatever. To unlock it, the neighborhood would complete activities, doing something like running Icecrown Citadel. That might give bonus credit towards completing this endeavor. I mean, yeah, you can run any raid for credit, but ICC dungeons and raids, that might give more. So it's kind of insidious. It's kind of smart too. Endeavors can potentially cancel out the idea of like the long RNG grind and change it into this group, this neighborhood activity. It actually carries a similar vibe to the Collector's Bounty event. The difference being this decor is more or less guaranteed, and the path towards unlocking these vendors is shared among the group. It's the kind of a system that works for everyone, but with a group effort in mind. The question I have, though, is how much more decor will Endeavors give relative to everything else? Based on what we've learned so far, and once again, I'm just speculating here, the leveling and renown track will not be significant sources of decor in the long run at least. They're going to give quite a bit early on, and then it'll trickle down to very few pieces. As far as I know, levels cap out, RNG drops, they just don't interest the team, let alone players, and Endeavors, they cover the idea of drops better, at least in my opinion. Quests, achievements, and vendors, they have two sides to them. Like the legacy side feels like it's going to mostly be fixed. It's going to be a healthy drop at launch, and then it's going to kind of fall off unless they continue to go back and add meta achievements to previous expansions, which, that's certainly possible. But of course, the game's going to keep going, and more decor will come from this. Professions feel a little bit different though. Like I can see a big healthy drop for legacy content and more recipes as we progress, but I can also imagine recipes being periodically added to expansions too, kind of like how Zul'Gurub and Stratholme got new recipes during Dragonflight. Endeavors are the wild card, and the timing of when they have new or updated endeavors with new rewards, I'm not sure if that's a thing, but maybe, that's not tethered by where we are in a given expansion. In any given month of the Midnight expansion, that could include endeavors that cover Winter, and Night Elves, and Zereth Mortis. Just like the trading post, what we see from data mining might not be available until like months later, and that's if the Endeavor theme is chosen. It's going to get lots of attention as it rotates each month, and it's going to feel like the biggest source of decor from a quantity standpoint, but how players take that is going to be pretty subjective. Like maybe I want more Titan-related stuff, and I might not see a reliable source from Endeavors. I might be mostly waiting for the last Titan to come through, and I'll get most of the related decor there. But endeavors will be a very useful option in the decor and housing toolkit as a way to keep dishing out appearances on a regular basis. It's going to be interesting how players think or rethink the idea of FOMO and completionism with player housing, because soon, just having all the things, it's not going to be enough. How it's presented will introduce all sorts of new challenges we've never had to deal with before now. That's the show, and I want to hear from you all. How successful was your collector's bounty-ing or whatever? For me, 21 mounts and 1,000 some squats later, I managed to do some serious damage to my mount collecting from the old raids and dungeons. It hasn't changed my feelings on mount collecting overall, but this was still a lot of fun. The most fun part was us being able to share in our victories and defeats as the days and the weeks rolled by. Next week, though, is the final week of the patch, but more importantly, we've still got a few weeks left to enjoy Turbulent Timeways and the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event for some big experience gains ahead of us going off into space. It should be fun. Let's give a fantastic thanks to everyone watching me live. It's been amazing seeing you all, many of you for the first time. Huge thanks to our patrons, and we can't forget about you. Viewer, you made it to the end, you fed the algorithm. Now, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.